Mentioned the case in New York. Of course, that is something that is ongoing. And I just do want to ask you one specific question about what we heard this past week, and that is David Pecker, who ran the National Enquirer's parent company, testified that he paid to catch and kill stories about Trump, specifically to help his presidential campaign. You don't have any concerns about that?
You know, apparently a lot of people do this. Arnold, Schwarzenegger, Tiger Woods. No, I think the whole thing is a crock. The statute of limitations has long shut out the misdemeanor cases. So this liberal prosecutor in Manhattan came up with a federal campaign violation that the state of New York, Southern District of New York looked at, the Federal Election Commission looked at, Jack Smith looked at, and decided not to prosecute. Alvin Bragg took a case that was rejected by the federal government to resurrect these misdemeanors. I think it's a political hit job on Trump 6 months before the election. That's what I think.
All right. Obviously, Tiger Woods is not running for president, and the allegation is about, at least not yet.
No,
about
I got
campaign.
it. Yeah, I think the whole thing's BS. Okay. Yeah, I think it's all BS. Yeah, political BS.
And just
we could probably get in trouble and even banned for this, but what the heck? It needs to be asked. Two questions. Lindsey Graham, right? You've seen Lindsey, you've heard Lindsey. What exactly is it that Lindsey Graham is able to combat again and again and again? What is the dirt? What is it? Straight in the comment section now, okay, about Lindsey Graham. There has to be something, because I don't even think the Republicans really like him, that he's able to switch from one side to the other and nobody says anything, like nothing. What does Lindsey Graham have about him that he gets away with it? And what does Trump have on him as well? That Trump, to be honest with you, he might as well be Kirsty Noon's puppy. Same type of thing, because he disposes of Trump as if, Trump disposes of Lindsey Graham as if he's, well, you know what I'm getting at.
You mentioned the case in New York. Of course, that is something that is ongoing. And I just do want to ask you one specific question about what we heard this past week. And that is David Pecker, who ran the National Enquirer's parent company, testified that he paid to catch and kill stories about Trump, specifically to help his presidential campaign. You don't have any concerns about that?
You know, apparently a lot of people do this. Arnold, Schwarzenegger, Tiger Woods. No, I think the whole thing is a crock. The statute of limitations has long shut out the misdemeanor cases. So this liberal prosecutor in Manhattan came up with a federal campaign violation that the state of New York, Southern District of New York looked at, the Federal Election Commission looked at, Jack Smith looked at, and decided not to prosecute. Alvin Bragg took a case that was rejected by the federal government to resurrect these misdemeanors.
He should be commander-in-chief. I don't think he has a clue about anything. He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. No, I don't think he's a xenophobic, race-baiting, religious bigot. I think he's a kook. I think he's crazy. Yeah, I like the president. He's a jackass. The point I'm trying to make about the president is that I do enjoy his company. What he's interjecting is turning democracy upside down. What I see coming out of the White House, I like. And you know how you make America great again? Tell Donald Trump to go to hell.
I think it's a political hit job on Trump 6 months before the election. That's what I think.
All right. Obviously, Tiger Woods is not running for president, and the allegation is about, at least not yet.
Yeah, no,
about
I got
campaign.
it. Yeah, I think the whole thing's BS. Okay. Yeah, I think it's all BS. Yeah, political BS.
And just
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, just to underscore something you said earlier, if he is convicted, you will still support him and vote for him.
Absolutely. I think what's going on with Donald Trump is weaponization of the law. He's being prosecuted in Manhattan, one of the deepest blue cities in the country. Georgia and Fulton County. Jack Smith is going after Trump, but Clinton and, Biden. Anyway, I think most people have written this off. They're going to focus on their problems, not a bunch of cases brought by liberals against Trump.
Look, being here is a reminder that folks think what's going on in Congress is political theater. That's not true. If Congress were theater, they'd have thrown out Lauren Boebert a long time ago.
Until now, no American president had ever faced a criminal trial. No American president had ever faced a federal indictment for retaining and concealing classified documents. No American president had ever faced a federal indictment or a state indictment for trying to overturn an election or been named an unindicted co-conspirator in 2 other states for the same crime. No American president had ever faced hundreds of millions of dollars in judgments for business fraud, defamation, and sexual abuse. Until now, no American presidential race had been more defined by what's happening in courtrooms than what's happening on the campaign trail. Until now. The scale of the abnormality is so staggering that it can actually become numbing. It's all too easy to fall into reflexive habits, to treat this as a normal campaign, where both sides embrace the rule of law, where both sides are dedicated to a debate based on facts and the peaceful transfer of power. But that is not what's happening this election year. Those bedrock tenets of our democracy are being tested in a way we haven't seen since the Civil War. It's a test for the candidates, for those of us in the media, and for all of us as citizens. This morning, we're going to do our best to put it all in perspective and analyze what it means.
Why stop at 2 clowns when you can have a hat trick of clowns? Mitch McConnell, it's really weird. He seems to spend more time having to go, clown like Tucker Carlson, than straightforward answering why he flip-flops over Trump. There is a man freeze into power, not cling into power, freeze into power. And it's quite sad that McConnell's legacy is going to be, how many faces does he have today?
I'm going to counter, no matter who's elected president, advocating things that I think are not good for America. What I care about is what does the person who actually gets elected ultimately do?
Should Mr. Trump, as candidate, as representative of your party, go and see Ukraine for himself?
I'm not going to give him any advice. I'm focusing on turning the Senate Republicans into the majority here and focusing on advocating, as I think I successfully did this very week, for moving away from the isolationist movement that began with Tucker Carlson.
It began with Tucker Carlson?
It did. He had a huge audience among rank and file Republicans, and I think it was very destructive, very impactful on regular Republican voters, and created a big problem.
Because he mimicked Republican propaganda and amplified it, and then that's been repeated on the House floor, as the House Intel chairman
Well,
said?
I certainly disagreed with him, and he certainly ended up where he should have been all along, interviewing Vladimir Putin.
Will you fact check Donald Trump when he says these things? Because he has also repeated some of these
I'm not
lines.
going to give any advice to our candidate in the presidential election. What I'm focusing on is turning the Senate into a majority Republican.
Chilling for you guys? This room just froze faster than Mitch McConnell.
Let's talk about what's going on at the Supreme Court this week. In 2021, you voted to acquit Donald Trump in his second impeachment, saying on the Senate floor, quote, "We have a criminal justice system in this country. We have civil litigation, and former presidents are not immune from being held accountable by either one." As we sit here, Donald Trump's attorneys are arguing before the Supreme Court that presidents are immune from criminal prosecution for actions that they take while they are in office. Do you agree with that argument?
We're going to find out, aren't we? I mean, the Supreme Court is going to deal with that direct issue that I was referring to on February 13th of 2021. And I think we'll find out sometime soon.
What do you think, Leader McConnell? Do you think that presidents should be immune from criminal prosecution for actions while they're in office?
Obviously, I don't think that, but it's not up to me to make that decision. The president clearly needs some kind of immunity, or he'd be in court all the time. So we'll see how the Supreme Court deals with it.
Just to be very clear, you said former presidents are not immune from being held accountable. You stand by those comments?
That was my view, but I don't make that decision.
But you stand by those comments.
That's my view. But my view is only my view. I mean, the court is going to decide this.
But just to be clear, you stand by those comments. Former presidents are not immune from being held accountable.
Yeah, I do, but many times I have to say, I'm not on the Supreme Court. I don't get to make the final decision on that.
Do you ever regret your vote to acquit former President Trump in his second impeachment trial?
Look, he was not president anymore at that point. There's a big debate about whether or not you could even impeach somebody, remove them from office that they don't hold. I stick with what I said then. I addressed this issue on January 6th, and on February 13th, I stand by everything I said.